Okay, so now that we've got our module map and we've had time to go and really have a look and create a module map for each topic, let's have a look and see how we implement this into the course site, into our course build. So remember, the first thing, the most important thing really is to plan it. Once you've planned it, it's much easier to then go and develop it and build it in your course site. So let's have a look. So here we have our course site. Remember, the structure is that we have a welcome introduction or orientation page. We've already looked at this. Then what we do have after that is we have Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and this will continue to Unit 8. If you're doing the assignment, you only really need to do 3 or 4. We will get a good idea from that. So if we have a look at Unit 1, we can now see that I have built Unit 1 based on my module map. We have the name of the module, and we always start with the outcome. So when a learner goes into the course, they're going to look at Unit 1, they're going to go, okay, so what do I need to know? What am I going to learn in this module? What are my outcomes for this module? So that it's right there at the beginning of the topic. So they're going to have, remember, they have outcomes for the module as a whole, but they're also going to have outcomes per unit or per week, depending on how you've set up your course. So for Unit 1, these are the outcomes. Then we have the instructional materials. So you can see the outcomes are just built using a label, and the instructional materials are created using a page. So I always like to number it, just make it really easy for our learners to see. So what we want is we give them good instructions. We want them to work through the resources below before Friday's live class. So 1, they're going to read Unit 1 of the prescribed materials, make notes about the sections which seem unclear, which they're going to then discuss in that live class on Friday. The second section that they will do is they're going to watch the narrated PowerPoint lecture in the video below, and then you can see I've attached a transcript as well. So just a hint here, let me just show you. This is going to be watching the narrated PowerPoint presentation, and when you see, you'll see that it downloads, and it actually downloads as a PowerPoint presentation. So I can see that I've already made a mistake here. Remember, we talked about accessibility. We don't want our learners to have not be able to open a PowerPoint presentation or a Word document on their device that they're going to be using. A lot of them are going to be using mobile devices. And so what we want to do is, if we're going to be saving a narrated PowerPoint, we want to convert that to a video. You can do that directly in PowerPoint. There's lots of videos that will show you how to do that online. And you just can save that as an MP4, because remember, MP4s are very accessible and on most devices. Right, so we can do that. So that's just showing you where I've actually made a mistake. Then the third step that they need to do is then watch the video below. So remember, I've already checked this on YouTube. If they watch the video, they've got closed captions or subtitles for those learners that need that in terms of accessibility. All right, so if we go back to Unit 1, so now we know Unit 1, when the learner logs in, the first thing they're going to see in Unit 1 is the name of the unit, the outcomes, what instructional materials they need to work through, and then they have all the activities. So you can see here I've got the different forums that they need to be completing, the different assignments that they'll need to complete according to that module map that we created. So remember, there was some formative, some summative assessments that they would need to complete, and these are all detailed in the course. So we try and keep the flow very easy. So first we want them to know what the outcomes are. They work through the resources, and then they're going to be completing these learning activities or assessments. The important thing is, for any learning activity or assessment, if you click on it, let's use this next one, you will see that there needs to be very good instructions. So you're going to have good instructions, explain exactly what you expect of the learner, the due dates, and for example, this is a personal journal, so you need to give a little bit more information about exactly who will have access to this journal. Depending on the way you set it up, the way it's been planned for is that only the lecturer or the tutor and the student will be able to see this. None of the colleagues will be able to see that. Right, then so the same goes in terms of assignments. Whenever you do anything, you need to give good instructions. You really want to make it clear for your learner. So this is a group assignment. We need to have detailed instructions. Remember, if you've got group assignments, you might want to include some things like group norms, how to deal with conflict, how to ensure that everyone is involved through the collaborative process. And then, of course, all that all-important due date, so the learners know exactly what is expected from them. Right, so you can see the course, we go again at the top of the units, we start in Unit 1, we start looking at the outcomes, we get our instructional material for our learners to work through, they complete all the activities, and then they've got all those due dates and everything that's given to them. And then finally, we have a link to the live session. So the live session is going to be held for the first units on the 1st of April at 2 o'clock. You can see there's some requirements. So they've asked that the learners must quickly work through all those resources before attending the class. So it's important that they read the study guide, Unit 1, they watch that video, that narrated PowerPoint presentation, and that they watch that video. And then you'll see there's a special note that asks the learners to bring the questions about Unit 1 to the session, as they're going to have a Q&A session. So depending on the way you set up your course, you can directly include a link to Teams or Zoom here. You might want to rather send that separately and you have used one separate link the whole semester. This will be up to you how you do this. This has just been created in a label, and I've just made it nice and red because it's a little bit different, so I want to catch the learner's eye. So the important thing is when we're building our courses is, remember, we talked about consistency. So we want to ensure that the structure and the flow is very easy. We don't want learners to waste time looking for things. So if we go and have a look at Unit 2 now, you will see it has the same structure. We have the name of the module, we have the outcomes, we have the instructional material. So the instructional material may be slightly different. So for example, in this unit, there's only 2 things the learner has to do. They have to read Unit 2, and they've got to read a PowerPoint presentation. So this, I happen to know, is definitely being saved as a PDF so that it's available for all those learners. So you'll see that's what is available there. If we go back to Unit 2, after the learners have gone through those instructional materials, then they will have a look at the activities. So you'll see in this unit, so if I had shown you the module map for Unit 2, you would have seen there would have only been one activity, and this is a quiz. So the learner needs to complete the quiz for Unit 2. And also, once again, when you're doing quizzes, it's important to give instructions. So is it a high-risk quiz where you're going to only have one opportunity? Do the learners have to do it within a certain period of time? Is it a self-assessment? They're going to have multiple turns to submit it. This one is a bit of a combination, so it's a formative quiz, but the actual purpose, remember, of our formative assessments is actually for knowledge transfer. So we want those learners to actually be able to get feedback and try again. So what this quiz has been set up as you can see, it will cover concepts of Unit 2, and the learner has as many attempts of this quiz as they want until the 10th of April. So this week, they've got loads of times to complete it and attempt the quiz and get those questions maybe they got wrong. They can go and research and come back and get those right answers. And because what's going to happen is the best result from this quiz will be used in their final marks. And then once again, like Unit 1, it's got a live session. But this live session, notice, is a bit different. It's got the dates is different. And there's no special request. So there's not going to be a Q&A session during this live session. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. So the important thing to remember when we're building our courses is to have that consistency. So it's important to have learning outcomes in every unit or every week that is required by the rubric. It's also just really good practice so our learners know what they're going to be expected of them for this week. Then we can give them the instructional materials that they need to work through, whether it be video, whether it be reading, whether it be PowerPoint presentations, animations, whatever that you want to include, that's where you include it. Then those activities, when we've got a wide range of activities that you can choose from, you might want to ensure that you include 1 or 2 collaborative activities through your module so that you really build on that social learning benefits that we have from social learning, and then just to make sure that they all are, have that same kind of structure and flow and consistency. So by the time the learner gets to Unit 2, they're not looking for things, they know exactly what to expect. Anyway, good luck and enjoy your course.